Amazing revelation. When my cleaning lady discovered an unexpected intruder in my home alone. Jenna raced home after another grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital, her thoughts scattered like the autumn leaves swirling around her. The moment Maria's voice crackled through her phone, dread took hold. "Jenna, there's someone in your basement," Maria whispered, her trembling voice igniting pure panic. An intruder. Home alone. Her kids were supposed to be safe. Frantically driving, she gripped the steering wheel, her heart pounding. How could this be happening? The unrelenting stress of juggling motherhood, a demanding job, utter exhaustion, with bills piling up like unwanted laundry, warned her of the dangers lurking everywhere, but this was different. She parked, her pulse quickened. Is it dangerous?" she managed to ask, adrenaline coursing through her. Maria had always been her lifeline, keeping chaos at bay in their messy lives. Her cleaning services had become a necessity. But now, everything felt fragile. A spark of recognition flickered in her mind as she recalled Tyler Matthews, the boy from down the street. Once an exemplary student, a shining star dimmed by harsh realities. Could it be him? The boy who had once lit up her children's faces with tales of victory on the track? Breath caught in her throat. She wasn't prepared for this moral quagmire. What if Tyler was just lost, desperate, like so many others? He had been a spark of hope, but life had extinguished it. She felt her own struggles mirrored. Images of her children filled her mind, their laughter echoing in spaces now tainted by fear. What would happen if she turned him in? Job security flashed like neon, the responsibility of her profession weighing heavily on her. As a nurse, she was trained to care for others, but at what cost? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The internal battle raged on, a relentless storm. Angela, her neighbor and close friend, had rolled eyes at families like Tyler's, deeming them careless and undeserving. But could she be as unforgiving? Could she judge someone whose journey she had never walked? Tyler didn't belong to her enemy camp. He was a product of the same cycle that threatened to consume her family's future. With her children's innocence hanging in the balance, conflicted thoughts clashed in her mind, the weight of decisions suffocating. As she approached her home, Jenna's heart raced with unyielding disarray. She stepped over the threshold, the air thick with uncertainty, pulse quickening with every creak of the floorboards beneath her feet. Would she find him lurking in the shadows, further shrouding her world with fear? Or could she face him humanely, heart open, risking everything she fought for? Walls, not just of her home but of her life, began to fracture, vulnerability bleeding into her bones as the uncertainty stretched taut between fear and sympathy. Jenna stared down the uncertain path that lay before her, her mind racing through hypothetical experiences that spanned their shared history. What would happen if she chose compassion? Would the embers of new understanding spark between them? Would her community rise in condemnation, branding her as a traitor to their carefully constructed ideals? The line between safety and chaos blurred, a tension so thick it suffocated. She could feel the shuddering implications stretch across her heart, locking her in an anguish she never chose. Staring out the window into the gathering dusk, Jenna pondered the imminent decision that threatened to turn her family's fragile life upside down. Jenna took a deep breath as she stepped further into her home, each moment stretching into an eternity. Silence enveloped her, heavy and foreboding. She flicked on the lights, illuminating the familiar space that now felt alien. Could a moment of kindness override her instinct for self-protection? She knew what she should do. She was a professional nurturer. Yet the raw ache of fear rippled through her veins, hardening her resolve. As she pushed open the basement door, the hinges creaked ominously, and shadows danced along the wall, taunting her lingering uncertainty. "Tyler," she called, her voice a tentative whisper. Instinctively, she braced herself for confrontation, each pulse thrumming with imagined scenarios. Confronting an intruder was one thing. Confronting a lost boy whom she once cheered for was another matter entirely. The words felt trivial as she recalled his radiant smile during those sunny afternoons when victory came easily for him, celebrated alongside her children's youthful triumphs. Where had that light gone? The boy she'd known had crumbled under the weight of life's burdens, just as she fought every single day to keep her own family afloat. "Please," she continued, "just come out. We can talk." The stillness uncoiled her nerves, the absence of any sound like a thick fog seeping into her consciousness. Was he hiding or had he fled? She pondered the irony. Was a lost boy truly more dangerous than the uncertainty she faced each day at the hospital? A flicker of movement caught her eye, and she took a cautious step down the stairs. "I'm not going to hurt you." Her voice steadied, taking on a nurturing tone she used with frightened patience. "You're not alone. I just want to understand." A tense silence loomed before a figure materialized through the dim light. Tyler emerged from the shadows, his eyes wide and rimmed with fear. The remnants of his vitality draped over hollow cheeks. In that moment, Jenna saw all the possibilities lost to life that could have been a success, instead teetering on the edge of desperation. He stood on the bottom step, trembling. A surge of protectiveness surged within her, overpowering her fear. But what would that protectiveness cost her? The life choices she had made were all pointed toward survival. Could she afford to let compassion in? "I know things are hard," Jenna said, her voice softer now, trying to reach for any vestige of the boy she once knew. "I'm just a nurse. I see how easily life can go off track. But there's still hope." Tyler shifted uneasily. "You don't know what it's like," he whispered, as though admitting the truth made it heavier on his shoulders. The vulnerability in his voice mirrored her own hidden struggles. A wave of understanding swept over her. She was more than just a caregiver to her patients. She was also a warrior battling her own fears, facing wrongful judgments alongside him. "I may not know exactly," she replied, trembling now with the weight of her decision. "But I know that there's always a choice." Slowly, she stepped further down the stairs, closing the distance between them. "What if we talk about where you've been? Maybe we can find a way forward together." What she sought was uncertain, yet the possibility of choice ignited a small flicker of hope within her. Could she help him navigate through this darkness? Could a shared understanding reshape both their worlds? But as Tyler met her gaze, she sensed a wall of unresolved pain wrapped tightly around him. Would he even want the help she offered? Jenna knew the world would see only a confrontation, but could this vulnerable moment transform into something greater, a second chance for both of them? The tension hung palpably as they stood facing each other, two souls weighed down by circumstance, hunger for healing tied tightly with strings of regret. Each heartbeat raised the stakes higher, revealing a multitude of paths unfurling before them, yet unwritten. As Jenna reached out her hand, uncertainty gripped her still. The moment felt monumental, a crossroads that would challenge everything she believed about risks and compassion. Would the faint glow of possibility kindle a fire strong enough to illuminate both their paths, or would it fizzle and crumble under the weight of societal judgment? The answer hung between them, just out of reach, waiting to be discovered. Jenna's mind raced, the air thick with tension, but she couldn't turn away now. The moment of truth was drawing near, and she could feel the shift in the very fabric of her being. Would she step fully into this uncharted territory, risking everything for the sake of compassion? Or would fear send her retreating back behind her barricades? With the stakes so high, she prepared to confront the limits of her own resolve. As she awaited his response, she understood that change can feel unbearably close, yet remain achingly out of reach. Tyler's expression wavered, caught in a battle between rage and desperation, and Jenna's hand lingered in the air, suspended as if weighed down by gravity itself. The silence pulsed with their unspoken fears. In that moment, Jenna confronted the stark reality of what her choice entailed. Helping Tyler meant confronting her own limitations, her own vulnerabilities, and possibly sacrificing her emotional safety for an uncertain outcome. A wave of introspection engulfed her. She had always taken pride in her ability to care for others, often at the expense of acknowledging her own needs. Her profession taught her empathy, but it also built walls around her heart, walls constructed to shield herself from the pain she encountered daily. Now, with Tyler before her, the walls wavered, inviting her to reflect on who she was beyond her role as the nurturer. "I'm here, Tyler." "I'm not leaving," she said softly, her voice a steady anchor against the tempest around them. The flickering light above revealed a fracture of vulnerability in Tyler's eyes, and for the first time, Jenna recognized that their stories intertwined. She was not just a nurse. She was a guide navigating the winding road of personal despair along with him. "What if I don't want hope?" Tyler's voice cracked, a raw edge of defiance bleeding into his words. "What if I'm too far gone?" In his question, Jenna found her own battles echoing back at her. She wrestled with the creeping realization that every instance in her life where she chose survival over vulnerability had come with a price. Yes, she had made it through triumphantly, yet at what cost? Had she become too adept at building barriers? "Hope isn't easy, but it's worth fighting for," she replied, attempting to breach the fortress of doubt that encased him. "But it requires you to choose it. You are not too far gone, Tyler. And I can't protect you from the path you've walked, but I can stand by you now." A flicker of surprise crossed Tyler's features. Her honesty seemed to penetrate the armor that had shielded him from human connection. He shifted, his posture relaxing ever so slightly as Jenna stepped back, allowing her presence to breathe, inviting but not imposing. "Why would you even care?" he challenged, yet there was an underlying curiosity laced through his words. Here was the moment Jenna realized. This was not merely about helping Tyler, it was an exploration of her own desires and abilities. Could she truly dig deeper into vulnerability without fear of becoming overwhelmed by it? "Because I've seen too many people give up, including myself. I know how it feels when hope starts to feel like an insult instead of a possibility," Jenna urged, her eyes locked on his. "But I'm still here. You're still here. Maybe together we can find a way to navigate this darkness, to make sense of it." Visualizing moments of her life where she had faltered, Jenna steadied herself against the tide of memories threatening to pull her under, revealing the hidden reservoirs of strength mirrored in Tyler's own turmoil. The bravery required to confront the abyss could reflect just as powerfully when shared. Gradually, Tyler's defenses seemed to lower. His nostrils flared as he exhaled deeply, and an air of tenuous possibility crackled alive between them. Yet, Jenna sensed the battle within him was far from over. No transformation happened overnight, and she understood that true healing required reciprocity. "I can't make promises," he whispered finally, exhaustion dragging the weight of his confession. "But maybe I can listen." As the heaviness of his admission settled around them, Jenna felt the earth beneath the weight of their shared vulnerability shift. This wasn't just about healing Tyler, it was also a catalyzing moment for her own awakening. In that basement, Jenna realized she was stepping into the unknown, challenging her own deeply entrenched beliefs about what it meant to be strong. The echoes of her own battles infused her resolve with a fresh fragility, a newfound understanding that compassion can be both a healing power and a source of risk. The walls erected around her heart crumbled just a fraction. But that small fissure unleashed an eagerness to embrace the duality of their existence, both wounded yet yearning. As they stood before one another, Jenna's heart raced, knowing she was about to embark on a difficult journey. "Let us start here," she said gently, with honesty. And with that commitment, another slice of her own history emerged, an unspoken narrative waiting to unfold. They were both lost souls, seeking illumination, yet uncertain what their alliance might yield. What waited at the horizon of their shared endeavor would test not just their resolve, but the very essence of who they chose to become. Would this fragile connection serve as a lifeline, or would it dissolve like so many pieces of hope before? The line beckoned them forward into darkness, the path widening into the unknown. As Jenna took a deep breath, the stakes sharpened, lingering on the verge of transformation, the next step demanding an honesty that could redefine both their lives. Jenna's resolve solidified with a clarity she hadn't anticipated. In the dim light of the basement, where hope mingled with shadows, she accepted the fragile nature of their connection. It didn't carry the certainty of triumph, but it bore the weight of potential. She understood now that their mutual willingness to confront discomfort was the first step toward growth. "Tyler, we can talk about what brought you here," she suggested, carefully choosing her words. The knowledge that she needed to tread delicately weighed on her. How could she navigate this exchange without falling back into the role of savior? He hesitated, the tension between them thickening once more. "I don't know if talking will help," he muttered, voice low. "But not talking has its own cost," she countered gently. "Every silence has a story, too. You're not without a voice." Jenna could feel a flicker of defiance within him, an ember waiting to spark. She wished to ignite it without rushing him. This was no longer just about obligation, it was an invitation for both of them to shed their protective layers. She allowed herself to lean against the wall, creating space, giving him dominion over their choices. How often had she stood rigid, forcing conversations only to drown beneath an unwilling flood of words? The realization surged, almost electric. If she could grant him the power to speak, she might just reclaim a piece of her own strength. "Fine," he relented, eyes flashing with a mix of anger and desperation. "But don't expect me to spill my guts." "I wouldn't dream of it," Jenna replied, managing a reassuring smile. "Share what you want, when you want. We're in this together." Tyler took a deep breath, and Jenna sensed a tentative shift in his stance. "What if I told you about the last time I felt happy?" He turned his gaze downward, his voice barely above a whisper. Jenna nodded slowly, her chest tightening at the mention of happiness, a concept both fragile and elusive. "Yes, tell me. If you want." With that, Tyler recounted the last family vacation, a trip marked by laughter and connection. His words painted images of lighter moments, moments where worry faded into laughter. Jenna watched him closely, observing the fleeting joy that danced across his features. It didn't erase the present agony, but it offered a glimpse into the battle that raged within him. "I wish I could feel like that again," he murmured, his vulnerability tugging at Jenna's heart. She noted the way nostalgia softened his demeanor, a thin veil between past respite and present suffering, and therein lay her realization. He would need to traverse through the layered memory maze, unpacking the lost treasures while navigating current despair. It mirrored her own journey, exploring moments of joy intertwined with trauma. Would they recoil in self-pity, or would they find resilience in the chaos? "Maybe we can find ways to create moments like that again," she suggested, her voice steady. The words slipped from her lips before she could process the full weight of what they meant. Could she genuinely propel both of them toward such fragile positivity? "Moments don't just happen, Jenna. They're earned," he shot back, the defiance surfacing as anger. It was a valid challenge that echoed her own doubts, forcing her to confront her ability to facilitate change. Did she have the competency to cultivate happiness in the midst of despair? "Then let us earn them together," she replied, surprising herself. It felt audacious, perhaps reckless, but it was also enchanting. Here was the flicker of cooperation, two wounded souls willing to take steps toward light amidst discomfort. The conversation began to flow more freely. They exchanged stories steeped in heartache and humor, discovering threads of shared experience woven into the fibers of their lives. With each exchange, Jenna felt the walls around her heart adjust. She began to find safety in her vulnerability, discovering strength within the open wounds. Gradually, the essence of their interactions morphed from desperation to cooperation. She no longer felt the weight of responsibility alone. Instead, they formed a tether, anchoring one another against the tempest of their fears. Just as they began to glimpse a shared small victory, a commotion echoed from above. The unmistakable creaking of footsteps resounded, and both paused, eyes widening. Who else would intrude upon their delicate moment? Jenna's stomach knotted, a new layer of tension unfurling as the unknown loomed nearer. "Who is there?" Tyler asked, his voice steadying despite the panic that briefly flickered across his features. Jenna's heart raced, matching the severity of his tone. It was clear that what she so earnestly sought, a growth in vulnerability, was about to confront an unexpected disruption, and she was unprepared for whatever lay ahead. As shadows danced at the edges of the dim basement, they braced themselves for the unforeseen. The stakes had shifted, and the open canvas of honesty now threatened to fracture under the weight of impending reality. What awaited them could alter everything they had just begun to build. The footsteps overhead continued to echo, a dissonant reminder of the reality threatening to intrude upon their freshly forged understanding. Jenna exchanged a glance with Tyler, her heart hammered hard against her ribs, urging her to act. She could sense the anxiety radiating off him. It mirrored her own. "Should we hide?" Tyler asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe Jenna began, but the uncertainty clenched her stomach. Running away, retreating into silence, felt like a cowardly escape. "No, wait. Let us stay put. We've already started breaking down barriers. We can't let fear box us in." Tyler nodded, albeit hesitantly. The room felt smaller as they sat together, harnessing their anxious energy. Jenna knew that whatever was about to happen, it would redefine the evening's trajectory. Did they possess the strength to confront the unknown together, to resist the compulsion of fleeing under the weight of fear? The footsteps moved closer, creeping down the stairs, their uneven rhythm laden with intent. A shadow grew larger on the basement door, dark and looming like an ominous threat. Her breath hitched as the handle turned, struggling against what was likely an unyielding course of fate. When the door swung open, it revealed a figure cloaked in the shadows. Jenna felt her breath hitch in her throat, a rush of panic intertwined with adrenaline. This was not what she had anticipated in their hour of openness. A stranger stood before them, an unwanted terminus to their brave exploration. "What the hell?" Jenna blurted out, instinctively rising to shield Tyler, her voice trembling yet defiant. The intruder squinted against the dim light, clearly taken aback by their presence. I just heard voices," they stammered, their eyes darting between Jenna and Tyler. The moment hung suspended, a tightrope between fright and an unexpected opportunity. Was this confrontation the very catalyst Jenna had been seeking to further her journey of personal growth? Jenna's mind raced as her protective instinct amplified. If she could navigate this confrontation with poise, perhaps it would serve as a testament to her evolving strength, the strength that came not from being a savior, but from facing life's unpredictable chaos head-on. "Who are you?" Tyler's voice held a firmness she hadn't expected. He stood, not behind her as she feared, but beside her, a sign of their fledgling partnership solidifying in real time. "I'm sorry," the intruder replied, raising both hands in a universal gesture of surrender. "I thought it was empty. It's the old house across the street. I lost my way." Every detail seemed charged, laden with potential meaning. Jenna took a steadying breath and realized this moment transcended the embarrassment of an unwanted visitor. Instead, it was a test, an opportunity for both of them to step into the unknown with courage. "Are you all right?" she asked, genuine concern coloring her tone. The tremor she had once felt within herself transformed into an unyielding resolve. "I'm just searching for something." The stranger shifted uneasily, revealing potential vulnerability behind their unexpected intrusion. Together, Tyler said quietly, moving closer to Jenna, echoing her earlier words. "Odyssey. Transformation. Connection." The words swirled in Jenna's mind as she recognized another layer to their evening's exploration playing out in real time. Not only had they begun unraveling their shared fears, but now they also faced an outside force. "You don't need to be alone in this," Jenna offered, stepping forward. Strangers could hold hidden stories too, broken narratives still yearning for redemption. A flicker of uncertainty crossed the intruder's face, but it was enough. Perhaps they could unearth a shared narrative, a fleeting moment where all could navigate beyond the darkness together. Just as quiet understanding began to settle within their triad, the intruder's phone buzzed loudly from their pocket, breaking the fragile atmosphere. The sound pierced through Jenna's resolve and plunged her back into doubt, the reality of their situation. Feeling more precarious than ever, the moment had transformed, and now, The earlier bond formed between Jenna and Tyler was poised to evolve into something far more intricate. Would they draw strength from their burgeoning connection to confront this ongoing disruption, or would it untangle the threads they had so carefully started to weave? Confrontation loomed ahead. Jenna had initiated a journey through vulnerability. How much further could it carry them, and would it withstand the unpredictability of those who intruded upon their cloistered moment? The phone's buzz lingered ominously, insinuating a return to harsh reality that Jenna had not anticipated. It shook the delicate equilibrium in the room, shattering the tenuous connection she had begun to build with both the intruder and Tyler. Doubt crept back into her mind, coiling tightly around her resolve. What if this stranger's presence spun everything out of control? They had just taken a monumental step in uncovering their vulnerabilities, and now a further challenge threatened to undo their progress. Sorry, the trespasser rushed out, fumbling for the device, casting an apologetic glance at both Jenna and Tyler. I should really wait. Tyler stepped forward, his voice cutting through the uncertainty. You can't just leave now. After he hesitated, searching for words. I mean, you can if you want, but we just began to understand why you're here. Jenna felt that the moment hung like a fragile ornament, soon ready to shatter. She had felt a spark of mutual growth flickering in the conversation until now. I'm sorry, but I'm not a threat. I really didn't mean to barge and I just got scared. The intruder's explanation hung in the air, revealing not just their own vulnerability, but reflecting back on Jenna and Tyler's bravery in confronting their fears. Scared of what? Jenna asked, curiosity overtaking her caution. She tilted her head, trying to read the stranger's body language. It was an instinct she relied on as a cleansing path towards growth, an opening to understanding. Life, the stranger admitted, their voice softer now, revealing layers beneath the surface. I just felt lost. My dad just passed, and I thought I could find something here, something to connect me back to him. The sudden heaviness in the air felt almost suffocating. The raw honesty of this admission was unexpected. Jenna felt an impulse to reach out, to comfort this person caught in crisis. This exchange had expanded beyond her initial inclination for self-preservation. With a gentleness that surprised even her, she asked, "What were you hoping to find?" "I don't know," the stranger replied, a spark of frustration igniting their tone. "Anything but the confusion I feel every day. There's so much going on in my head." Jenna recognized that this wasn't just about the stranger anymore. They were all navigating emotional fog, floundering for clarity. In that moment, her own trajectory of courage surged anew. Breaking the barrier of fear wasn't just about confronting an external conflict. It was also about bridging the gaps between their own chaotic internal worlds. She looked at Tyler, their eyes locking in an unspoken agreement. "Look, we all feel lost sometimes," Jenna said, her voice steadying with assurance she didn't entirely feel. "What if we tackle this together?" Tyler's eyes sparkled with recognition. He understood the gravity of this offer. The intruder's face flickered with uncertainty, but there was a shadow of hope behind their wary demeanor. Together, Tyler echoed, stepping fully into this newfound dynamic. "We can listen to each other, even if we're all just figuring things out." Jenna felt a swell of determination. She had originally seen this moment as a test of her ability to face fear, but now it cradled the promise of support. Together, they could forge a new path forward. "Let's go somewhere, talk this through," Jenna suggested, her initiative burgeoning. "Maybe we can shed some light on what we're all searching for." As they prepared to move, the reality of vulnerability solidified around them. This wasn't merely about scattering shadows, it was about illuminating the darkness they all carried. And in this moment, as the three faced an uncertain future intertwined with understanding, Jenna felt whatever bonds were forged tonight would serve as an anchor through their journeys. A subtle tapping emanated from behind the door, faint, yet persistent. It sent a ripple of agitation through Jenna, a visceral reminder that the world outside held its own uncertainties. "What was that?" she asked, instantly regretting the question. "Maybe something more than what we bargained for," Tyler muttered under his breath. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the door. Would they now face the deeper unknown awaiting them? The night was young, But the shadows still lingered, and Jenna wondered, what truths would they have to confront next? Jenna took a cautious step toward the door, her heart thudding in her chest. The uncertainty of the night hung heavy around them, and she could feel the weight of Tyler's gaze searing into her back. They were at a precipice, and every moment stretched like an elastic band ready to snap. "Let us be careful," she murmured, her instincts raising flags of caution. "You should stay here," the intruder suggested, anxiety lining their voice. "What if it's someone dangerous?" "No," Tyler replied firmly, "we can't hide. We need to face whatever is happening. Running away has never solved anything." His confidence seemed to invigorate the air, and Jenna felt emboldened, if only slightly, by his words. As if in response to their resolve, the tapping grew louder, morphing into an insistent knocking. It reverberated through the room, shaking Jenna from her thoughts. It was a reminder that they couldn't endlessly retreat into the shadows of their uncertainties. With a nod of agreement, Jenna stepped toward the door. Each step felt monumental, as if she were crossing a threshold not just from one room to another, but also from fear into courage. "On the count of 3, she whispered. 1, 2, 3. When she swung the door open, its hinges creaked in protest. Surprise coursed through her as she found herself face to face with a delivery man, his arms loaded with boxes. He blinked, clearly startled, eyes darting between Jenna and the 2 others behind her. I have a delivery for Jenna," he stammered, holding out a clipboard. The absurdity of the moment sliced through the tension, and Jenna chuckled nervously as she stepped aside, allowing him to enter. "That's me. I wasn't expecting anything. What is it?" "A couple of things from your online orders," he said, still bewildered by the sudden assembly in the room. "Thanks," Jenna said, accepting the clipboard to sign. As she scribbled her name, something strange tugged at her. Among the boxes, one was large and unmarked, its presence somehow alluring. "Hold on," she said, gesturing toward it. "What is in that one?" "Not sure." "Didn't he get a closer look at the manifest?" "It just came in like this," the delivery man replied, shifting his weight and glancing quizzically at her group. Jenna felt a spark of intrigue pool in her chest. "Unmarked?" It ignited a morbid curiosity, something they might need to face together beyond the emotional turmoil that had already risen among them. "Let us open it," she said, looking back at Tyler and the intruder. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Tyler asked, the tension back in his voice, clouding the moment anew. "Why not?" Jenna questioned, a challenging light in her eyes. "We've just decided to tackle our fears head-on. What if it holds something we need to confront?" After a moment of hesitation, they moved closer, an unspoken agreement passing among them. As she pried the box open, a swirl of anticipation mingled with fear. Jenna caught a glimpse of something alive amidst the packing material, and just as she unwrapped it, a flash of revelation lit through her with blinding clarity. Inside, there was a series of letters, each neatly stacked, addressed to her in careful handwriting. The first was unmistakable, the familiar looping script of her late grandmother. Jenna's breath caught as she desperately fanned out the clothes, revealing a tapestry of her past she thought she had left behind. "What is it?" Tyler pressed, peering over her shoulder, curiosity mixed with concern. "What if these letters all hold pieces of wisdom?" she thought, realizing the journey of understanding her family's past was only just beginning. The terror of uncertainty morphed, fueling her inner fire. As Jenna's fingers trembled over the letters, she could feel profound experiences calling her. Envelopes cradled not only her grandmother's words, but also Jenna's path of growth and intertwined fate waiting to be unraveled. But before she could process this revelation, the room fell silent, tension electrifying the air once more. The stranger's face blanched, eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. "Maybe this is what I was searching for, too," they whispered, glancing sidelong at the letters. Suddenly, the air shifted, and with it came the realization. This was more than pieces of paper, it was a conduit to their transformation. Jenna could feel the gravitational pull of secrets yet unfathomed. What had she just stepped into? What more awaited her within the deep confines of those letters? Her heart raced with anticipation and dread, knowing the next step might reveal hidden family truths or the chance to reconcile with old wounds. Do we dare to uncover it? Jenna breathed as they huddled closer, the letters beckoning, and the shadows thickening around them as they prepared for whatever revelations loomed just beyond their grasp. Jenna lifted the first letter, her hands steadying against the cool envelope, the weight of her grandmother's past thrumming against her fingertips. The atmosphere in the room shifted, and the trio exchanged anxious glances. The delivery man, still nearby, hovered awkwardly, as if this moment was too intimate for him to intrude upon. Tyler's expression was a mix of concern and curiosity, while the stranger seemed caught between excitement and trepidation. "Open it," Tyler urged, sensing Jenna's hesitation. His voice carried a gravitas that anchored her. The moment felt monumental, an inquiry into who she was, woven with the threads of her ancestry. With careful deliberation, Jenna slid her finger under the flap, the paper crinkling softly. As she unfolded it, the scent of her grandmother's favorite lavender lingered in the words written there, igniting memories of family gatherings filled with laughter and warmth. Yet, buried beneath that nostalgia was a profound weight, like a stone sinking into still water, sending ripples of uncertainty outwards. "Dear Jenna," the letter began, her grandmother's voice ringing clear as she read aloud. "If you are reading this, it means I'm no longer there to guide you. I want you to know that the strength you seek doesn't come from sadness or fear, but from embracing every part of who you are, both the light and the dark." The truth in those words struck Jenna. They echoed her own battle with self-doubt, with the image of herself as a caretaker caught beneath the pressures of expectation. Jenna's heart raced, torn between feeling uplifted and burdened by the weight of realization. This was not merely a letter, it was a challenge. A push to confront her past, and to reckon with the shadows that still lingered. What did she mean by the dark? The stranger whispered, leaning in, their curiosity piqued. Jenna's thoughts spiraled into memories she preferred to avoid, the times she had muffled her ambitions to cater to the needs of others. Her desire for education sacrificed for familial obligations. "I don't know yet," she admitted softly, glancing up at Tyler and the stranger, who seemed to mirror her turbulent emotions. "Let us keep going," Tyler suggested, his fingers brushing against another letter. Jenna felt an unyielding pull towards the continued exploration of her heritage. Each letter promised wisdom, each word a potential roadmap to understanding her multifaceted identity. With a detached urgency, she reached for another envelope, the anticipation of discovery mingled with an encroaching sense of dread. What truths would emerge? What familial legacies had she been blind to? Wrinkling her brow, Jenna unfolded the second letter, her heart a fragile bird in a cage of her own making. "Dear Jenna," the next letter began, "life will not always follow the paths we choose. Sometimes, an unmarked box may bring you the most valuable treasures. You will face challenges and crossroads. Remember, you have the power within you to choose your direction." A shiver coursed through her. In that moment, she recognized the metaphors woven in her grandmother's wisdom. They mirrored Jenna's own journey to professional independence and personal discovery. The fear of failing, of not being enough, tightened its grip one moment before violence washed over it, revealing a determination now boiling to the surface. "What if I choose to take the risk?" she mused aloud, her voice imbued with a newfound clarity. The past may have molded her, but it did not dictate her future. She was at a turning point, linked inextricably to the choices her grandmother had made and the ones she was finally willing to face herself. The moment expanded, wrapping the three of them in a cocoon of vulnerability and burgeoning strength. In confronting her history, Jenna felt she could redefine her narrative, one where she was not just an extension of her family, but a fierce individual with her own ambitions. "Should we continue?" Tyler asked, breaking the weighty silence, his gaze fixed on Jenna. "Yes," she affirmed, her pulse quickening. "Let us see what else is inside." As she reached for another letter, uncertainty surging within her, Jenna became acutely aware that real growth lay on the other side of fear. The scope of her journey was now wide open, and the shadows cast by her past began to recede, whispering of an exciting mingling of empowerment and revelation. But just as she began to read again, the door creaked open behind them, an unexpected visitor stepping inside. The intrusion shattered their moment of intimacy, and Jenna's heart stuttered. Who was here now, and how would they affect her unfolding narrative? Jenna barely registered the face that entered the room, her mind still tangled in the weight of her grandmother's previous words. She instinctively looked back at Tyler and the stranger, gauging their reactions. Tyler's eyes widened, a silent question emanating from his gaze, while the stranger's curiosity morphed into caution. The newcomer, a tall, middle-aged woman with auburn hair and striking green eyes, seemed caught between hesitation and purpose. "Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt," the woman said, her tone oscillating between urgency and etiquette. "I'm looking for Jenna. I'm her new neighbor." Jenna felt a warm rush of embarrassment wash over her. "I'm Jenna," she managed, her voice faltering as she took the woman's outstretched hand. "What brings you here?" "I just moved in next door," the woman explained, her brisk demeanor softening. "I wanted to introduce myself and figured it might be a good opportunity to meet you if you're free." Jenna caught Tyler's gaze, a mix of bewilderment and encouragement reflected within it. "I guess it is a bit hectic," she said, glancing down at the letters now strewn across the table. "Maybe I came at a bad time," the neighbor continued, stepping subtly into the room as if testing the waters of the charged atmosphere. Jenna felt a twinge of resentment. This was her moment, and now she had to share it with a stranger. But as she scanned the woman's face, there was something resolute in her expression that piqued Jenna's curiosity. "Actually, it's quite the opposite," Jenna replied, her voice firmer than before. "I'm in the middle of something important. You're welcome to join me." Inviting her in felt like a small act of rebellion against old patterns once again. She prioritized her own needs over the discomfort of others. The neighbor's eyes lit up, and she stepped fully into the room. "Oh, I do love that. I always find that the most powerful stories come from families we don't always see at first." Her enthusiasm ignited something within Jenna, highlighting the excitement of unearthing personal treasures and the strength that built from connection. Jenna hesitated, but then motioned toward the table. "I was just reading letters from my grandmother. They're a little daunting, but I think they might be leading me toward something bigger, defining who I am and who I want to become." "Isn't that the beautiful part of discovery?" the neighbor responded, settling into a chair with an eager confidence. "It's about piecing together fragments of ourselves, the light and the dark. What I've learned is that every letter, every interaction, adds a layer to our story." Her words resonated with Jenna's strife. Suddenly, it felt less likely that the intrusion was an inconvenience. Instead, it was a chance to share the weight of her journey. Jenna gestured toward the scattered letters. "Would you like to help me read them?" "I'd be honored," the neighbor said, her expression sincere. As they began to sift through the letters together, Jenna felt the room transform with the shared storytelling. Every word felt less daunting, unfurling new threads in the tapestry of Jenna's past. The letters morphed under the weight of the new presence, reminder of the world brimming with wisdom and connections. Encouraged by the neighbor's insights, she found herself diving deeper into her own hesitations and dreams. Sometimes, Jenna verbalized slowly, feeling the letters as both anchors and wings. "The hardest part is facing the fear of what lies ahead." "Then let us reframe that idea. What if fear is just a stepping stone?" the neighbor suggested, her gaze piercing Jenna's heart. "What if those letters are a guide into embracing your potential?" Jenna's breath caught. The implications were staggering, imbued with a sense of responsibility not solely for herself, but for the family legacy she represented. The unexpected visitor had become an unexpected ally, and as they continued reading together, Jenna's determination solidified. She could feel the fear transform within her, becoming a supportive force instead of a chain. Yet, amidst this progressive journey of self-discovery and newfound alliance, the sound of footsteps echoed from behind. Another presence stirred in the hallway, this one she recognized, yet feared. What would this new arrival think of her journey? Would it threaten the openness she had forged with her neighbor? Jenna braced herself for yet another disruption in her pursuit of clarity. Who stood behind that door, and would they validate her reawakening or throw her back into obscurity? As the door creaked open again, Jenna's breath caught in her throat. She turned slowly, her emotions a whirlwind, preparing for the response of whoever entered next. Her heart raced, anticipating judgment or misunderstanding. But when she saw Angela, her neighbor and closest friend, the rush of tension dissolved into an unexpected relief. Angela's wide gaze flitted past Jenna, taking in the scene, the letters scattered on the table, the unfamiliar faces, and the connection brewing between them. "What is going on here?" Angela asked, her tone laden with curiosity tempered by confusion. With determination flooding her veins, Jenna sensed an opportunity. "Angela, I've been diving into these letters from my grandmother. It's been eye-opening," she said, gesturing to the open envelopes. "And I think you should join us." Seeing Angela's hesitant posture, a wave of memories flooded Jenna's mind. Scenarios when she had hidden parts of herself out of fear of judgment, of not being accepted. But here, amidst the letters and the newcomers, she felt her courage reshaping her past. Angela shifted uncomfortably. "Letters? About what?" "How they're about our family, our struggles. They help me reflect on who I am and my choices," Jenna replied, her voice steadying. Angela's expression softened, curiosity dancing in her eyes. "Can I see?" As Jenna handed Angela the third letter, a realization dawned upon her. She was no longer just a nurse caring for others. She was reclaiming her identity and legacy. The walls that had previously enclosed her heart now seemed to expand, allowing space for connection. Angela leaned in, reading aloud, "Life will not always follow the paths we choose." Each word echoed in Jenna's heart, reverberating through the newfound connections forming around her. The reminder of the complexity of life felt like a tender truth that Jenna was now embracing. Together, they turned the pages, sharing laughter and reflections, unearthing the past collectively. Tyler and the stranger picked up on their energy, contributing their own stories of family and struggle, creating a beautiful tapestry of shared experiences. As they shared, Jenna reflected on her journey from turmoil to healing, navigating motherhood, working through her fears, confronting her insecurities, and embracing vulnerability with Tyler and these new allies. She had grown. No longer seen strictly as a caretaker, Jenna was establishing herself both professionally and personally, stepping into the role of a strong protagonist in her narrative. "It's incredible to see how our pasts shape who we are," Tyler said, his face illuminated by understanding. The stranger nodded in agreement, their hesitance fading as they shared their own moments of growth. "I never realized how much connection matters," they said. Jenna felt a wave of gratitude toward the universe, recognizing how every unexpected encounter had enriched her life, opening doors she had previously kept closed. "This evening is more than just sharing letters. It's about our willingness to confront our shadows together and finding strength in our vulnerabilities," Jenna spoke, her conviction resonating in the room. With each exchanged story, Jenna could feel herself evolving a solid confidence and recognized competence anchoring her newfound identity. Old fears began to look less formidable as she absorbed the richness of connection and the power of shared experience. As they reached the final letter, Jenna found the courage to steer the conversation toward her aspirations, her voice unwavering. "I want to pursue my dream of going back to school. I deserve to reclaim my path. It's time." The room buzzed with support and proud affirmations. Tyler clapped, saying, "That's incredible." The stranger echoed, "You should go for it." Angela beamed, "We'll be here cheering you on, Jenna." In that moment, surrounded by encouragement, Jenna realized her personal achievement was not merely about self-acceptance, it was about deep-seated connections, forging bonds stronger than the barriers she had always maintained. As she turned to the group, the urgency of their shared journeys registered within her, and she understood that vulnerability nurtured resilience not only in her own life, but also in the lives of those she touched. "Let us keep this conversation going," Jenna urged, excitement bubbling within her. "Who knows where this will lead us?" Emboldened by the warmth in the room, She embraced her role as an architect of her own destiny. Together, they would navigate the unpredictable nature of life. This was her moment, a defining metamorphosis, setting her firmly on the path toward fulfillment. Now, remember, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.